Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt
And
Roast.
I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to our Survivor 49 finale
Mhm,
reaction and review. This is the end of season 49, and rest assured, we will talk a little bit about season 50
mhm.
at the end of this video, but we don't want to shortchange this season and this finale, especially since it's felt like for months the entirety of it has felt shortchanged.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the season is okay.
Mhm.
There are some people on here that were really fun to watch, but for the most part, you mentioned this many times, and it's true. The first half of this season, it was slow. Like,
Yeah.
it just felt like, this one team is getting beat up over and over and over again, and it just wasn't moving the plot along, and it took a while to get there. But we are here now
Yeah.
and we have crowned a winner, and we will be, like Matt said, talking more about season 50 at the end of this. But for sure, we really do have to dive into this since there will be people from this season on 50 and
Yes.
we need to talk about them.
Yeah, it's a bizarre last couple of seasons looking back. Like, we're going to have plenty of takes in this review, but I just want
Mhm.
to deposit this. I feel like if you took Frankenstein's monster style, the first half of 48 and the second half of 49, you would have an excellent top tier season. The problem was the post merger 48 was boring. The start of 49 wasn't good, but I feel like the second half of this season was pretty fun.
I liked all of season 48.
Wow,
I'm
okay.
here for season 48. I really liked it.
Well, we'll talk about the winner, all the moves that went into making that happen. There were a few legitimate surprises that
Mhm.
happened in this finale, and I think that's going to lead to some really fun discussion.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into anything more here, though, be sure to hit that subscribe button because coming up in January,
Mhm.
even before Survivor 50 is here, the Traitors season 4 has arrived. There was a new trailer that launched
Yeah.
earlier this week. Like, Jess and I, we're over the moon. There's fun Survivor people on, there's Big Brother
Mhm.
alumni. It's just a really interesting cast in general.
We love the traders. We will be here covering that. We, of course, will be back for Survivor 50. And then the summer wouldn't be summer without Big Brother. So we will
Yes.
be back again for that as well. So hit that subscribe button and stick with us.
Thank you guys for your support all season long.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just gonna start this video, much like the finale, at
Mhm.
the beginning here. We're gonna go
Yes.
back in time a little bit to the final five.
Oh, beep, bop, 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 boop. We are back in
Whoa!
time.
Oh, I mean, in some ways, we actually could go back to the start of this season because there's a real irony that we're starting and we're ending with Rizzo copying somebody else's puzzle.
I know.
It's just like, okay, I'm going to say this. I was annoyed at Rizzo early this season, but you know what? For the finale, I'm actually annoyed at Savannah because Savannah, here's, you could have
Oh.
just looked at your puzzle, been like, and just threw it everywhere. It would have taken you all of 5 seconds. This is so close to the end of the season. People gonna cheat. You have to cover your work.
Yeah, especially since that is completely allowed. So, like, while I know there's probably people out there that are like, no problem with it, it's allowed. Other people being like, it's a cheat, you shouldn't be doing that. If it's allowed, it's allowed. So, use whatever tools are in your box.
Yeah, I don't have any problem at this point with Rizzo doing that. Everything is on the line. Rizzo has not exactly
Yes.
been good in challenges this season.
No, even with the cheating, he's just not good at
No,
it.
he needs whatever help he can get here. He
Yep.
needs all the Survivor cliff notes he possibly can
Yes.
find. Now, Sophie ends up getting this advantage, but I just want to say, I think this whole advantage for the next immunity challenge is kind of dumb because there's just a lot of immunity challenges that even with an advantage, you're never going to be able to get. The ones that come to my mind are, oh, you have to balance these balls on this disc and just hold on to this disc. If your balance sucks, there's nothing an advantage is going to do in order to help you.
No, if I was doing that challenge and I had an advantage, I could have an advantage of, Jessica can take 5 extra hours to do this and I'm still going to lose. Like,
Yeah.
there's just certain things, it just doesn't work out. It doesn't matter what the advantage is.
No, the whole like early part of this finale did feel like, all right, this is a 3-hour finale. We got to
Mhm.
stretch all this on because
For
really
sure.
the drama just came down to the immunity challenge.
Yes.
This was the whole risk, and this is what made the whole Steven decision so unbelievably baffling was you could be in this situation where Rizzo has to play his immunity idol at
Yes.
5. I don't think he's so arrogant that he's just never going to play it. And then Savannah wins the immunity. And then what are
Yep.
you people going to do?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this was like a worst case scenario for everyone who decided to get out Steven. But y'all got what you got. Like sending out Steven was just such a colossally bad move.
Like this whole season has just been ultimately about these weird sliding doors decisions. It's just the MC vote was terrible in
So bad.
retrospect. Like the yellow Sophie vote was really bad in retrospect. And then the Steven vote, it's just mistake compiled on top of mistake and mistake. And that's where we get to this situation where Savannah wins immunity.
Yep.
We're left with this showdown between, okay, is it Christina versus Sage? And yeah, this isn't that exciting because I don't really feel that bad for either one of them.
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't that surprising that Christina ended up going. I know that they were really back and forth and back and forth, and I get what Rizzo is sort of saying, like, you know what, I can beat Christina at the end, but Savannah's right. You still have to get to the end, and if Christina's the person who's building all the fires at camp, you don't want to have her going to fire. That is a mistake. So I actually think that they made the right choice getting her out. Nobody wants to battle her and fire, you lose.
Yeah, I kind of wish this narrative had been put on the show a little bit earlier than the finale.
Yeah, I agree, especially when, we will get to the fire making and all that, but hearing like Savannah be like, this is the first time I'm making a fire. I'm like, yo, you came on Survivor and you didn't even practice like one time in your backyard or in your kitchen sink, like nothing at all. You're just like, if I get there again, I'll figure it out. Like, oh, wow.
Her and Rizzo both. Rizzo, you're a huge fan of the
I
show.
know, it's shocking.
Even leading up to you're just on the island. You have all this free time. Why are you not practicing making a fire at
Yeah.
that point?
Yes.
Now, the important thing, and we'll talk about this as this video goes along too, is that there's really 3 components to Survivor. And no, I'm not talking about the ones on the logo. I'm talking about social game, strategic game,
Yes.
challenge game.
Yeah.
Savannah being so gung-ho about getting rid of Christina. This to me is one of the 2 best strategic game moments that she had this season. It
Yeah.
was her getting Yellow Sophie over on her side
Yes.
at one point,
Yep.
and then this because yeah, she realized I really need to fight to get Christina out of here because yeah, Christina is a huge threat in this one particular thing that we are
Yep.
literally just finding out about right now. So let's go ahead and do this. Sage, we think we at least have a chance of beating her.
Yeah, that's the thing about it, right? It's that at some point there's going to be a fire challenge and you might be the person that's in it. So you had to get rid of Christina.
Yeah, and I don't have that much more to say about Christina and her game. I mean, good on you for going out there and doing something that it seems like you would not have done under any other circumstance, but she just frustrated me strategically so many times this season.
He also frustrated me in the whole jury segment. We will get into that with these questions. Christina, you're so messy, but we will get into that.
Yeah. Okay. The final 5, very predictable, not that exciting.
Right.
Final 4, this is where things got really interesting to me on a number of levels. I mean, starting first and foremost with Sophie winning this particular challenge. At this point, I have been a Sophie hater these past few tribal councils, feeling just like she's playing the game for other people. I was just thinking, good on you, Sophie. In this moment, I was very proud of her. But then another part of me was just like, Matt, don't do this to yourself. She's just gonna find a way to get Rizzo and Savannah to the final 3. She's gonna disappoint you one more time this season.
Yeah, but she didn't. She
No.
made the right choice. She's like, you know what? The person I'm picking to come with me is going to be Sage. That is the right move. You had a good chance of beating her, but at the same time, I don't know that she was really going to have a chance against Savannah or Rizzo when going to the end. And I've been the past couple weeks very critical of what Rizzo has been doing with his flaunting his idol, making people feel like a clown, because jury management, you mentioned these 3 very important
Yes.
things. The 4th is jury management. If you let somebody go out feeling like a clown, they're going to clown you when it's like, oh, and now you want something from me. You want my vote piece. Sorry, not going to you. It's going to go over here instead. And that last tribal last week when the whole jury was just like rolling their whole face and body at everything that was going on with Rizzo. They were over it. It would have been really interesting to see him at the finals to see how much the jury was really feeling that at that point, but they definitely were last week.
That very thing that you pointed out last week and you're talking about right now, I have to be a flower peddler for a moment here because I have to
Mhm.
give Survivor and your editors your flowers because you totally rope-a-doped me. I thought for sure that everything you mentioned last week with Rizzo and his theatrics was a pure setup for why Rizzo was going to lose in the final three, that he
Yeah.
was going to make it there, but he was a little bit too arrogant and
Yeah.
showy, and it was going to annoy the entire jury. I never thought this entire season that Rizzo was going to be the final four boot, which is kind of like the ultimate what if for Survivor players. You're so close, but then lo and behold, he loses the fire making to Savannah.
I was just shocked that Rizzo hadn't spent every single waking moment
Yes,
trying to make sure that he knows fire. He knows everything else about this
I
game. He's a
know.
huge super fan. He's even able to sort of break down what advantages he thinks people have based on what advantages
Yeah.
have already been played in this. He has such a, great strategic mind for that, and he is such a fan. How are you going on this show and you don't know how to make fire? Why would you ever do that?
It's really bizarre because, yeah, we mentioned these three or four different things here. Rizzo may have only been the best this season at one of them, but I do think he was the best strategic player for almost the entire season. His jury management component, not great. And this
Trash.
just one other little thing where if you're going to be a super fan, you have to be prepared for every possible scenario. And
Yes.
clearly, he was just not prepared for this. And yeah, you could argue that, oh, it's a toss up between him and Savannah, who hasn't practiced either, but it's just why make it a toss up? Why give yourself any advantage that you can?
I will say that it was very exciting because it was just a toss up that neither of them knew how to make a fire. I'm like, this is all going to just be pure luck at this point of who ends up getting through on this,
Yeah.
that they just get that little bit of luck and fire and they're able to go through because neither of you know what you're doing. So at that point, I was just like, this could go either way, truly go either way.
That is the funny thing about these fire making challenges. A lot of them are predictable, but then every once in a blue moon, you get something like this. And then there was another one, and I'm sure people in the comments will correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it
Yeah.
was Cook Islands, where they were so terrible at fire making that Probst had to bring out matches for. I was a little bit worried that we were going to get to a match situation given these two and their fire making skills
Yeah.
here. But no, we say goodbye to Rizzo. And here's the thing, Rizzo, you did annoy me at times this season. I made that very clear, but you earned your Riz God nickname. Yes, it was unbelievably cringe that you made Prope say it to you as you were leaving the game.
Yeah, it was very cringe, but I understand what he's doing, or at least what I think he's
Yeah.
doing. I've been saying all season, I feel like, yeah, he's there to be on Survivor. Of course, he enjoys it. He wants to win, all of that. But it has always felt like he's building his brand, which
Mhm.
is totally fine as well. People go on reality shows for all kinds of different
Yes.
reasons. And to me, Rizzo is somebody who is looking at the much bigger picture than I'm just going to be on Survivor and then I'm going to go off and do whatever else. That he actually is like, you know what? I actually want to make a name for myself of something that could then continue on in the influencer space, whatever it is.
I just feel like he played really hard. And
He
anybody
did.
who loves this show as much as he clearly does and is willing to risk his idol as many times as he did, like my hat does go off to him. I think he really made the most of his experience. So yeah, you may be cringy at times, Rizzo, but I got nothing bad to say about your game at all.
Okay, let's get into these final three and the jury. Okay.
Yes.
We're going to start with what I call the Jess mess, which is we are just getting into some of the messiest part of this
Yeah.
because this is the part that I always love about reality TV the most. The people who are the messiest. Christina, I know you're not watching this video. It's totally fine. But what was with this question to Savannah? If you are going to ask Savannah and be like, listen, your social game was trash, and I'm going to prove that it's trash. I need you to name a family member of every single person on this jury because the only people you
Yeah.
talked to was Rizzo and Sophie, who was in your alliance. Why is that question not also going to Sophie, who also played that game? When they all three of them were together, they were really together. The second part of this is This question is BS. Nobody there would be able to answer that question. I just don't think that they would be able to. They are sleep deprived. They are challenge deprived from like using all this energy. They are food deprived. They all have starvation brain at this point. I have a really good sleep. I'm doing all right, and I can barely remember what I did for breakfast, let alone, all of my friends, what their, brothers, mothers, cousins' names are. It's just a really unfair question. And I think if Christina had asked a different type of question to be like, listen, I think your social game was kind of trash. You spent all this time with just these two other people. Tell me something personal about each person that's here. I think everyone would be able to answer that question. I don't think that Savannah, I'm not here defending her social game, being like, it was so good. It was fine. And I do think that she was having conversations with lots of people
Yeah.
about get to know you type stuff. She wasn't talking game with everyone, but it feels like she was talking to everyone to some degree, that she would have been able to answer that question and be like, okay, Steven does this for a living. Jawan, is this, or whoever is this. She'd be able to answer some of that, but I don't think anyone was going to be able to answer that question. And it felt like that question was just there to sabotage and be messy to try to make it that she was just going to get called out, because we already know from a couple episodes
Yeah.
ago, Christina had a problem with Savannah for most of this season.
Yeah, this whole story, I feel like there's a lot left on the cutting room floor where I don't
Yep.
really understand
Nope.
this relationship as
No.
far as I can tell from the outside looking in. Yeah, Savannah's weakest part of her game is probably her social game. Well, she
Yes.
was not perfect in that, but she's not Russell Hantz. Like, she's not terrible. It never felt like she was that bad. And as for the memory part of it, I'll tell a quick story. I was in theater a lot when I was in high school. I was trying to do some acting. So I was in this play for 3 months with this girl named Ashley, who's also not watching this video. We get to the opening night. Ashley wishes me good luck. I blank on her name. I have no idea what her name is. And that's someone I have been with for 3 months. I'm not going to sit here and fault Savannah for any of that.
No, I just think that, especially in a big group like
Mhm.
this, where yes, you're spending lots of time with everybody and you're at camp and you have lots of time to get to know people and you're getting just so much information about so many different people when you're not eating and you're not sleeping and you're focusing on a game. This question was super unfair.
Yeah, and really, that was the biggest thing that stood out about the jury questions themselves, because I feel like everybody else, their questions made sense, or at least
Yep.
for who they are. Like, Jawan's a little bit corny, but you know what? That's fine. I didn't have any problem with Jawan's question.
No.
I think everybody else was all right.
I
And
actually really like Jawan's question because I like that Savannah answered it as honestly as
Mhm.
she did, where she's like, everyone is always like, yeah, I'm here for my family. I'm here for so and so. I want to, pay off my family's house. It's always about somebody else.
yeah,
I absolutely love that she was like, yeah, of course, I'm here for my family and that and whatever, but I'm actually really here for me. And this is why I'm here for me,
yeah.
because of this, and this that I needed to prove to myself to be here for me. I was just like, yes, I love this answer so much. It's very honest. And
Yes.
I think that that's the same answer that almost everybody has going on to this show. So it's very refreshing to hear her just say that.
Yeah, I really feel like all three of these women did a pretty solid job in
Yes.
front of the jury. I went
Agreed.
into this
All of them.
feeling, all right, this is 100% a slam dunk. Savannah's got this. But I had real moments of doubt watching all of this play out. Yeah, in part because of Christina's question, but then
Yep.
also how well I felt Sophie did in articulating some of her own points.
Yep.
Sage did a pretty good job. There were a couple of moments where I felt like she was talking a little out of the both sides of her mouth. And here's the reason why, because this is a pet peeve of mine in Survivor, and I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way. I applaud Sage for her service. I really admire
Yeah.
everything that she's done for this country. But in general, trying to use I hid something about my career in the final tribal council to try to convince everyone you're playing a good game, I don't think it works, because as a juror member, I'm going to evaluate the things I see in your game that make sense to me. Sage's strategy in this final tribal was, I'm going to try to circumvent everything by explaining my career path and then try to chart the course of my game. through that career path. And Sage said it, yeah, I got to the end, so what I did must have worked really well. But I'm just sitting back and feeling like, I don't think that's the case because you got rid of people consistently who valued you higher than this three-person alliance ever really did. So yeah, you made it to the end, but you made it to the end with a trajectory that made it really hard for you to win, and that's actually the point.
But one of the things that she did do right is her social game. It was pretty good for the most part.
Yeah.
And she did make very, very close connections with a lot of the people that were
Mhm.
sitting on the jury.
Yeah.
And while she did get some of them out, it felt like some of them were going to be more understanding about the fact that she made these moves to get to these final three. There was a lot of people that I was looking at the jury and I was just like, there's a lot of people there that really like Sage just on a personal level.
Mhm.
So is that enough to get her to the win though?
And with that in mind, here we go. The winner of Survivor 49 is Savannah.
Yay!
We're both, I think, really, really
Very.
happy. I think Savannah is the best player of these three by far.
By far.
Excellent challenge performer, very good strategic. Yeah, social
Yeah.
game, not perfect, but an excellent, in my view, performance in front of the jury. She tried to handle the Christina thing, in my opinion, as well as she possibly could.
That would have earned her vote entirely for me at that point. If I was sitting on the fence
Yeah.
and I saw that question come out, the way that she answered it, honestly, the best that she could to be like, I think you might have a brother. I think you mentioned that maybe
Yeah.
you're the oldest of, three siblings. Like, she really tried to remember. She didn't make any excuses for it. She wasn't like,
No.
oh, I'm sleep deprived. I haven't eaten in 26 days. All the things that everyone there would already know. For her to be able to pull out what she did and do the best that she could and be honest, where she's just like, hey, you know what? I'm really sorry. I actually just don't remember anything about,
Yeah.
any of your family members' names because it was very specific to be somebody's name. That would have earned it entirely for me, on top of course, everything else that she did.
I think one of the things I have liked the most about her all season is she feels very old school, where we have a lot of
Yeah.
these players in this new era who are really touchy feely and talking all about my dream and all these other different things. And yeah, Savannah had her sentimental moments, but she wasn't afraid to be competitive, to play really, really hard, to say
Yes.
what was on her mind. Now, Sophie, here is the thing that I wonder how much you are kicking yourself over because there's a very obvious path to me as to how Sophie could have won this game.
Yeah.
Here's a little bit of the sliding door. So she takes Rizzo's idol at Final Six, which it feels like even she knew in the finale she should have done that.
1,000%.
Yeah, if that happens, Rizzo goes at Final Six. Then we're in a situation. Sophie plays the idol at Final Five.
Yep.
She's safe. Let's say Savannah wins immunity again at Final Five, like she did. You can get rid of Steven at that point. And then Sophie wins immunity at Final Four. She can put Savannah in that Final Four fire making against Christina. Christina beats her based on what we've seen with the edit. And then I feel like it's pretty much a dominant victory for Sophie in that particular final three.
1,000%. If that had all worked out like that and she had just taken that idol, it
Yeah.
would have been very different.
Yeah, I'm sure she's kicking herself over it. I would be kicking herself over it. I would be kicking myself over. But, Savannah, she played hard all season long. I think she really, really deserved this win. And that brings us to season 50 because it has now been confirmed Rizzo and Savannah are going to be taking part in the next season.
I'm really excited to see them on this season. They are very different players than a lot of the people that are going to be on this cast. I'm very curious to see how this cast is going to deal with Rizzo and
Yes.
these theatrics. I just feel like when you have a bunch of people together and you've got some legends here in the mix, that they're just not going to respect that they're going to see the theatrics and be like, I am not here for this. What else do you have? And the thing about Rizzo is he does have something else. The something else that I think that's really special about Rizzo
Yeah.
is how good he was with his strategic social game, that he was able to convince people
Yeah.
that people like Alex were a threat over him. Like, it was
Yes.
shocking the way that he was able to manipulate people. And if he's able to like tone down the theatrics for season 50 and he can focus on that, he can win this.
Yeah, I think he can. And that's why I'm going to sit here and say I would get rid of Rizzo immediately. If I am on season 50, I'm getting rid of anybody from 49 immediately because they do not have an opportunity to watch this season. Season 50 has already aired, and I mean, it's already filmed. And with that in mind, you don't actually know everything about how they
Right.
played. It's a little like when Russell went back to back, and you don't want to kind of overlook something and be surprised later because they can tell you almost anything and you just have to believe them. It's a
Yeah.
very weird position. It is going to be cool though seeing Rizzo and Savannah. I mean,
Mhm.
alongside a lot of these other legends, like I think the female cast for 50 is better than some of the guys, but we'll have a lot of time to talk about 50. I'm hoping
Yeah.
it's going to be really really fun.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really fun. I know that there was a lot of us out there that were like, "Yeah, season 49, it's fine. We're getting
Yeah.
through it." But everyone has just been waiting and waiting and waiting for 50, just like us.
Yeah.
So bring it on. We're ready. Coming
Yes.
in February.
We are unbelievably excited, but we are also really excited to be through this season of Survivor. We hope
Yep.
you guys enjoyed discussing it and talking about it as much as we did. So be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any other coverage. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
and we will see you here next time.